Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico
no se vende.
no se vende.
Puerto Rico no se vende.
Puerto Rico no se vende.
Hello everyone. This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I am here loud and proud to rank Zohran Mamdani #1 for mayor of New York City. Early voting starts on June 14th. The primary election is June 24th. So early vote, fill out your ballots, and make sure that you do not rank Andrew Cuomo on your ballot. Don't do it, folks. We are going to rank our ballot Zohran #1 for a New York City that can be affordable to all of us.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about a story that I really believe that everybody should be paying attention to when you talk about how radical the Democrat Party has become in the future of the Democrat Party, which could be a threat to the country as a whole, because the more radical the Democrat Party becomes, the worse off for this country, okay, if they happen to win general elections, which is a big if, okay? But, you know, it could also make it easier for Republicans to win general elections. We're going to see. And I think one of the first tests, okay, interesting political experiments, that's what I'm calling it here, is the New York City mayor race, okay? And right now, I want to talk about the New York City primary, Democrat primary, for the mayor's race. And we got to talk about radical Muslim socialist candidate Zohran Mamdani. Now, I have talked about this individual before on this channel, but just in case you missed that video or you're not familiar with this individual, again, this guy is a radical socialist who is very Trump deranged. And again, this guy makes Brandon Johnson look damn near like a centrist, which is hard to do. But this guy is a hard left, mask off socialist.
What brought me to DSA and to the explicitly socialist movement was that it didn't carve out an exception for Palestine, right? So I know the question is more of like an affirmative one, but for me, it's so obvious and so clear, right? That if you're going to say that you stand for these things within the confines of this border, then why would you say that you don't stand for them elsewhere just because of where it's located in the world?
How many more New Yorkers? How many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers without charge? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
बात ये नहीं है कि मैं क्या बनूंगा, बात ये है कि मैं क्या करूंगा हमारे कम्युनिटीज के लिए और हर एक न्यूयॉर्कर के लिए। मैं हमारे शहर को अफोर्डेबल बनाऊंगा। न्यूयॉर्कर्स मुश्किल से अफोर्ड कर रहे हैं रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान। मैं ये सब बदलने के लिए लड़ रहा हूँ। रेंट फ्री बसेस, यूनिवर्सल चाइल्ड केयर और सस्ती ग्रोसरीज के जरिए। पर आपको एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, तुमने कभी किसी को वोट किया? Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zohran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you. But we must also aggressively pursue evidence-based strategies that prevent violence and crime before they occur. I will create a Department of Community Safety, the DCS. This new agency will coordinate a whole-of-government approach to protect New Yorkers like never before. We will invest in citywide mental health outreach and crisis response, expand gun violence prevention programs, address hate, and tackle homelessness.
Because I feel like you did not want to make a definitive statement on this. Do you support Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state?
I support Israel's right to exist as a state with equal rights. I believe that every state...
Why not as a Jewish state?
Because I'm not comfortable supporting any state that has a hierarchy of citizenship on the basis of religion or anything else. I think that in the way that we have in this country, equality should be enshrined in every country in the world. That's my belief.
All right, let's...
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand how radical this guy is, okay? Because he's not one of these closet socialists that basically try to, you know, pretend they're not socialists, even though they are socialists, because they know how unpopular it is to come out and to just go full mask off socialists. Like, for example, AOC, right? They call themselves democratic socialist, right? They throw that word democratic in front of socialist to try to soften it up, right? Well, I'm a democratic socialist, not a socialist. There's a difference, even though it's really not, right? These are socialists, okay? AOC can't even claim to not be a socialist anymore because she is endorsing a guy who explicitly said he is a socialist, right? He's a socialist. Okay, he believes in free everything, free childcare, free bus rides, government-run grocery stores. Okay, he wants to implement rent freezes, right? So he wants to freeze rent, okay, across New York City, which would be an absolute disaster. That's like one of the fastest way to destroy a city, right? Outside of bombing a city, right? Implement rent freezes, right? That's how you destroy a city. That's how you turn a city into a slum. Okay, that's how you turn New York City into Mumbai. Okay, I'm just saying, I don't know. Okay, but when you talk about guys like him, okay, he also believes in other radical positions, like, for example, unfettered illegal immigration into the country. You guys saw he was protesting heavily against Tom Homan. Okay, he also believes in being soft on crime. He calls it evidence-based policing, right? Which basically means, hey, let's do what a bunch of woke studies recommend that we do, which is to have soft on crime policing, right? That is what he believes in. Also, he can't say with a straight face that he believes that Israel should be a Jewish state, right? He believes that Israel should be a state with quote unquote equal rights, which to some people may sound like, oh, well, what's wrong with that, right? What's wrong with Israel not being a Jewish state, okay? Or as he frames it, having equal rights, okay? But again, you know, people should probably ask this guy, hey, would you be okay with, let's say, for example, Pakistan not being a Muslim state, right? Because Pakistan is one of these countries, these Islamic countries, that only allows Muslims to run the country, right? Would you not support Pakistan for being a Muslim-run country, right? Or any of these other Muslim countries in the Middle East? Why is it, you know, only Israel can't be a religious state? Do you believe in these Muslim states being able to be Muslim? Or if Palestine had a state, would you be against Palestine being a Muslim state, right? Would you be against that? I think those are questions that this dude should answer. But regardless, this guy is a radical, okay? He's a radical. And the crazy part about it is that for as radical as he is, again, especially on certain issues, that's still not radical enough for the radicals on the left.
Continue to be brutalized and protesting against genocide every single fucking day, protesting against graduations, and you still haven't said shit, but you will condemn direct actions against Zionist settlers. Have some damn shame. How do you pray every single day to Allah? How do you pray those 5 prayers, and what do you ask for him?
You made your point, let it answer.
There is a genocide happening, and yet you say that...
I'm going to take a moment to just speak about this because there may be more people who have thoughts that they want to share.
You cannot...
The first point that I want to say...
Let him talk! My people are fucking dying! You're not letting him answer! My people are fucking dying! I don't care for his answer because he answered it a long time ago. Israel has the right to exist. Let him respond! What's your answer? What's your answer?
I'm glad that you want to hear my answer. I just want to be very sincere.
And his support is growing. And this is why I'm doing this video, because I want people to take this guy seriously. The Democrat Party is hard left. Okay, they've taken a shift towards the hard left. And I think, again, part of the reason why is a reaction to President Trump. The only thing they know is just socialism and hating Trump, right? Which, again, is why you're seeing this dude's support skyrocket in the polls. A bombshell poll just came out, okay, that was done by Data for Progress. And I just want to put a caveat on this. This is a far left pollster, okay? But regardless, again, this guy is gaining, okay? But I want people to understand that in this poll, in the final round of New York City's primary, okay, because they have ranked choice voting, Mamdani is only 2 points behind Cuomo, okay, which is a big deal, right? That's a big deal. When you look at Polymarket, the betting odds are now starting to shift up for Zohran Mamdani. He is undoubtedly gaining steam, right, as somebody that could possibly become the next mayor of New York City. There is a real possibility that this guy could win the Democrat Party primary. And if he does win the Democrat Party primary, that is when the race for New York City mayor becomes very, very, very interesting, as Cuomo is declining in support due to all of his baggage from being governor. Okay, he's a disgraced governor. And also on top of that, AOC coming out and endorsing Zohran Mamdani. This guy has all the momentum in his favor.
Welcome back. Ahead of the primary election later this month, 9 Democrats hoping to be New York City's next mayor faced off in their first debate as the frontrunner, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, was the target of attacks from all sides.
This question was about your personal regret in your years in politics.
I said I regret the state of the Democratic Party is
no
that we elected
regrets.
Trump.
Not the 15th.
No regrets when it comes to cutting Medicaid or health care. No regrets when it comes to cutting child care. No regrets when it comes to slow walking PPE and vaccinations in the season of COVID to black and brown communities. Really, no regrets.
Let's turn to public safety. It's a top concern for many New Yorkers.
The people who don't feel safe are young women, mothers, and grandmothers around Andrew Cuomo. That's the greatest threat to public safety in New York City.
Ooh, a lot of fireworks there. Cuomo is trying to make a political comeback after resigning from the governor's mansion in 2021 amid an investigation from his own attorney general that found Cuomo sexually harassed nearly a dozen women. Allegations Cuomo denies. The attorney general also found the Cuomo administration undercounted nursing home deaths during the COVID-19 pandemic. Polls show Cuomo's chief competitor is Zohran Mamdani, a 33-year-old self-described socialist who is hoping to become New York's first Muslim mayor. Earlier today, Mamdani picked up a key endorsement from progressive leader and New York City Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Big endorsement there. Here to break down the dynamics of this race is our very own NBC News national political correspondent, Steve Kornacki. Steve, it's great to be here in New York with you.
Great to be on set with you, Kristen.
Yeah, usually we're in D.C. together. So let's talk about this endorsement by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. How could it shake up the state of the race?
I think it really reinforces what's become the main dynamic in this race, and that is we always knew Andrew Cuomo was the front runner. There's this crowded pack. Who's going to be the main challenger? I think it clearly is Zohran Mamdani. And her appeal, Ocasio-Cortez's appeal, I think overlaps with what Mamdani's has been so far. So I think it reinforces. It doesn't necessarily expand. He's doing best with younger voters, self-described very liberal voters, college-educated voters. He actually does better with white voters than non-white voters. That sort of progressive base of the Democratic Party we talk about a lot. It's with AOC, and it's increasingly with him in this race.
Well, it certainly is going to add a fascinating dynamic. And so, too, is the fact that the current mayor, Eric Adams, is running as an independent. He, of course, was facing indictments, multiple charges for various different issues. That's been dropped under the Trump administration. How does he impact the shape of this race? And what do you think his prospects are?
Yeah, so this is the interesting thing. We've got this primary going on, but Eric Adams, the Democratic mayor, not going to be in the Democratic primary. He says he's running in the fall. And I think the key thing for people to understand about New York City elections is it's pretty easy to create a political party in New York City. All it really means is you get your name on the ballot somewhere. And what they can do here that they can't do almost anywhere else is you can run as the nominee of multiple parties. So one thing that you've seen happen here is Adams has basically created his own party to run on in the general election. He may be soliciting the opportunity to run on other lines. So he's going to be there. You know, they'll have the winner of the Democratic primary who's going to be there. There is a Republican primary. Curtis Sliwa is expected to win that. So you'll have multiple candidates out there. There could be more who emerge in the general election. And it's potentially a big wild card. This thing, not necessarily. You think of New York as just overwhelmingly Democratic. The primary is the be-all and end-all. It can be. It often is. But there, you know, with Adams there and some other possibilities, this could be extended beyond primary day a bit in terms of some drama.
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but I find it very fascinating just how badly white progressives want to turn this country into Europe. Okay, they want to turn New York City into London. Zohran Mamdani's strongest supporters are white leftists, okay? Everybody else is kind of like, nah, I'm good on socialism. And the white progressives, the white leftists are like, give me that, right? Give us all the socialism. Give us everything that Europe has, including allowing foreigners to take over, right? To run our cities. It is something to behold, right? It really is, okay? But I want you guys to understand how interesting this could get. If this guy pulls off the upset, okay, he beats Cuomo in the Democrat primary, you could have this guy, a socialist, as the Dem nominee. You have Cuomo running as an independent. And then you have Eric Adams, the current mayor, running as an independent. And then you have Curtis Sliwa, presumably the Republican primary nominee, running as the Republican, which could actually help out the Republican nominee due to the fact that you're going to have 3 candidates in the race who are going to be splitting votes with the left, okay? However, in that situation, that also could help Zohran Mamdani, okay, who, again, is far left. If he can get the far leftists to show out while you have Eric Adams and Cuomo essentially splitting the more centrist leftist vote, and if Republicans don't show up for the Republican candidate, then you can have this radical socialist become the next mayor of New York City, which would be a disaster for this country. It would solidify the far left takeover of the Democrat Party. It would embolden all the lunatics to now run because they now can win, right? They would tell themselves they can win general elections. They can certainly beat Democrats in primaries. It would embolden them, and we're going to see more far left lunatics than we've ever seen in this country come out of the woodwork and run in these elections and try to win elections. And again, that's not a great thing for the country. It could be good for the Republicans because I just find it hard to believe these people can win general elections, right? But if they happen to win general elections, yeah, that will be terrible, absolutely terrible for this country, okay? So again, I want people to understand how dangerous this guy is. And again, one of the reasons why he's so dangerous is because his far-left ideology, in my opinion, is fostering domestic terrorism in this country. If you don't believe me, just listen to this illegal immigrant tell you about the ideology that is currently behind the anti-ICE, anti-mass deportation riots that are currently happening in Los Angeles. Unsurprisingly, it is Marxism.
We don't agree with the term illegal. We're undocumented. We've been here for thousands of years before you guys showed up, screw up everything. We think we should organize together with the U.S. working class and fight together and create a better system. We're anti-capitalist. We think socialism does work, real socialism, not Venezuela, not Cuba, not any of that crap that they try to sell us as socialism. And we believe it would be a more humane system that will take care of most of all people's necessities.
Is there a country we can look to kind of model the socialism idea?
The only model would be Soviet Union the first 4 years. After that, it became a mess. Sadly, there was a bureaucrat leadership that grew out of that, but it has to do mainly with the attacks of the U.S. and all big powers against that system that was working. In the few years that it lasted, it showed the world that it could do much better than capitalism.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand, what is the underlining similarities between BLM, Antifa, Roe v. Wade, the pro-Palestinians, the pro-illegals? What is the underlining similarity? All of these movements are Marxist. They're all Marxist, okay? So all of these movements, which have contributed to domestic terrorism in this country, right? In fact, a vast majority of the domestic terrorism we've seen in this country over the past 10 years have come from these far-left movements. All of these movements are grounded in Marxism, okay? And again, that is what makes this guy so dangerous. These people believe in violence in order to achieve their political goals, their political agenda. This is what they believe in, right? This is why you keep seeing it over and over and over again. All of these groups are Marxist, okay? So let's go ahead and listen to this guy talk about what's currently happening in Los Angeles. And clearly you're going to see that if this guy became mayor of New York City, he would be one of these radicals that will be totally fine with the agents of chaos tearing down the city.
I want to get a bit more of if you're mayor and our president were to bring the National Guard here, what you think you would actually be able to do. A lot of New Yorkers are aware of the fact that Mayor Eric Adams has not been shy about cozying up to Donald Trump. A lot of immigrants in this city are also very nervous. They're also wondering if they should continue to show up to appointments or to school or to doctor's appointments at this point. So I think they'd be looking to you and wondering what you would do as they look at these images. If this were to come to New York City, what do you imagine would be the decisions you would be making tonight and the message you'd be sharing with New Yorkers about how you'd keep them safe?
The message, first and foremost, is to recognize that immigrant New Yorkers are New Yorkers. And I say that as an immigrant myself. I came to this city and this country at the age of 7. It's the city that I fell in love with, the city where I got married, the city where I got my citizenship. And yet I know that just blocks away from where I got that citizenship, where I was sworn in, is today Federal Plaza, where immigrants are terrified to go for their regular check-ins. And we know that the federal government has an immense amount of power to be able to inflict this kind of terror upon people across this country. And yet what we've seen from our current mayor is to build upon that power and allow the NYPD to often serve as accomplices to it. You know, there was a moment when a number of undocumented New Yorkers were being arrested at Federal Plaza, and the NYPD, the Strategic Response Group, was dispatched to then arrest New Yorkers who were observing that, including a pastor. This is the kind of practice I would bring to an end, because we need to make clear that sanctuary city policies, it's not only the law of this city, it's also something that's kept New Yorkers safe. And had we had those same policies in Maryland, Kilmar would never have actually been taken to El Salvador. These are the kinds of policies that keep families together. As the next mayor, I will not only build upon them, I will ensure 100% compliance with them.
Wow.
So we've seen protesters in California try to organize peacefully. Apparently, some of our reporters have described some of the activity as unruly, but generally peaceful. What advice would you have to New Yorkers who also want to register their dissent, who want to register their dissent peacefully, but don't want to play into this narrative that Donald Trump seems eager to spin, that these are riots, that these are people who don't respect the law, who are interfering with federal operations?
You know, the crazy thing about MSNBC is that they will play the live footage of what clearly is a riot, right? And then they'll turn around and say, well, Trump is spinning it into a riot. There's no spin. The video's right here, right? It's in front of your face, right? Like, again, I don't know what is about MSNBC and the Democrat Party and CNN as well, too. When it comes to gaslighting, they have not learned their lesson that the American people are not stupid. You cannot piss on our leg and tell us that it's raining and think that you're going to maintain credibility. And that's what they're doing. They're continuing to do this. And I just don't understand why they want to gaslight the American people on reality, things that we can see with our own 2 eyes. But again, listen to this lunatic. He's saying not only does he support the sanctuary city laws, he wants to build on them and expand them and to make sure they're enforced 100%. AKA, this dude would do everything in his power to protect illegal immigrants in this city, right? He would fight the government tooth and nail to prevent mass deportations, to prevent the federal government from enforcing the law. He would allow the lunatics to tear down the city. That's what he would do if he was mayor. Listen to these people.
I would encourage New Yorkers to use their First Amendment rights to peacefully protest if they are in opposition to what we all must oppose.
Again, at this point, peaceful protest from Democrats is a dog whistle, right? They say peaceful protest as a way to cover themselves, but all of their quote-unquote peaceful protests are violent, right? Again, they're dog whistling to their base. That's what they're doing here. Listen to them.
Which is an authoritarian administration looking to detain, disappear, and push out so many of the very people that we love and make this city and this country our home. And I would say that because also too often Democrats are worried about what Donald Trump will say about something. And so we retreat and allow there to be a void, when in fact, mayors of our cities, the mayor of New York City is considered to have the second largest bully pulpit in America. That's a bully pulpit that should be used to define the truth of what is happening and to push back on these horrific kind of narratives that are then used as the justification to disappear people hundreds of miles away.
Let me ask you really...
Disappear people, right? AKA deport people, right? Enforce federal law. So again, the point of this video is a warning. I think this guy has a real chance of winning. I really do. I think he has a real chance of winning. And that if he wins, that is a warning that the Democrat Party has been taken over completely by the radicals, right? It is mask off socialism and Trump derangement. And, that seems to be the direction that the Democrats are headed in. If this guy wins the mayor's race in New York City, boy, that city it will have officially fallen. Right? It will have fallen. We're going to need a new New York City, to be honest with you, okay? We're going to have to build a New York City in the South, right? Okay, we got to take one of these big cities in the South. I don't know, Nashville, Charlotte, Atlanta, right? We got to take what he said. We're going to need a new New York City, right? We're going to need to make something else, right? There's going to have to be something else. New York City won't be New York City anymore if this guy takes over, to be honest with you. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.